Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We're here to plug you into the world of professional wrestling. I'm Krusty and I'm here with Fisher.
Hello, guys.
And again, it's just the two of us. Keeney has deserted us again. I'm not happy about it, but Fisher says I'm not allowed to fire him, Vince McMahon style. Not even if he drops a pipe bomb on me, MJF style. But this is going to be
he should be back next week. So
yeah, we're hoping to have him back next week, and then things can resume to normal. But hopefully you're enjoying just myself and Fisher at the moment. We are doing another solely WWE Raw, SmackDown, and NXT review. Let us know what you think of this format. If you prefer us to go back to having AEW on the same podcast, we're interested to know your thoughts. But keep an eye out for Fisher's AEW review, which will have some large AEW news on within the next day or so. Keep an eye out for that. If you didn't catch our Hell in a Cell video, also go back and check that out.
And NXT in your house.
Yeah, everything. There's been content absolutely everywhere. And as always, please give us a like and subscribe. It really encourages us to keep making this content for you. So I don't know if we had any last week, but I think it's time to head into Fax Fisher's news segment. So take it away.
Yeah, I will discuss some WWE news. There is some AEW news, but like Krusty said, I'll discuss that on the Dynamite and Rampage review anyway. Obviously, there was some big news regarding the AEW World Title and stuff this week, but I'll cover everything on that on the review because it kind of is relevant to Dynamite itself anyway. But WWE-wise, I think really the news that's come out recently is about Roman Reigns. Obviously, we've got more follow-up news on Cody's injury as well, but we don't really know how long he's going to be out for yet because I think his surgery is today. But Roman Reigns is apparently not going to be scheduled for Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which means it'll be 3 pay-per-views in a row. He's not defended the title. He's appeared on one, and that was the 6-man tag against RK Bro and Drew McIntyre. But I know they've moved, obviously, Money in the Bank from a stadium to an arena. So it's a slightly smaller show, but with no Cody Rhodes going to be appearing, no other title to defend other than the women's ones. It seems a bit odd that Roman Reigns isn't defending the title here, especially given Riddle's promo on Raw. I thought that maybe we might get that as a match. And I mentioned as well Bobby Lashley potentially going for the title after his win over Omos and MVP at the pay-per-view. What do you make of it? Because at the moment, it seems like a terrible decision to put both belts on Roman Reigns if they're not going to have him defending them.
It almost feels, sort of reading through the lines and stuff that comes out that's reported on, it's almost like a Roman felt like he was overworked and needed some time off. But as you say, what an odd time to put both belts on him so they're not defended. We said it before, it's almost like he's taken Brock's schedule as well as his title. And it's a shame because he was such a draw and we were all loving what he was doing. But if WWE aren't careful, people will start to resent him for doing this. And this has happened before. You end up with such an irregular schedule that people don't like you being the champion. And suddenly you've got Roman, who is probably the hottest thing in wrestling for a long time. Suddenly you may lose that and that will really fizzle out, which you don't want to happen before he maybe loses a belt at SummerSlam or something like that. And as you say, this Money in the Bank, as much as the women's titles are a massive deal, like you say, you've lost Cody Rhodes. If you haven't got Roman Reigns as well, there's 2 of your biggest stars not turning up at this event, and it's going to feel a bit lackluster, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think there's a bad decision. I mean, if he just kept the Universal title, I wouldn't really have a problem with it because I feel like that would be fine. We'd still have a world title on Raw, which is a 3-hour show with most of the stars of the roster, to be honest, are on Raw. I'd be happy for him to keep the Universal title because that run has meant a lot over a long time. So I wouldn't want him to drop that title, but putting the other belt on him, I think is a mistake. I don't think they should have done it. Based on what we've seen so far. Obviously, things can change and it might end up being there might be an angle or something that happens that might be great. But I also feel like with Money in the Bank coming up, it kind of makes Money in the Bank pointless if there's no champion around for him to cash in on. because there's only one champion, right?
Yeah,
so
good point. Yeah.
The male champion, if whoever wins Money in the Bank, we speculated maybe Rollins or Owens or someone like that, they've got no champion to cash in on if Roman's not there. So it's a big problem. And I think we need Roman back on TV regularly or to drop one of the titles very, very soon, because I think otherwise it's causing a big problem. And like you said, the star's missing with Cody's injury now. I feel like there's no, obviously, Charlotte Flair, although I think she'll be back soon. Sasha Banks is gone. There's a few others that are sort of injured or away for various reasons. And it just feels like the WWE roster is very thin as it is, and especially top star level at the moment. And I mean, it feels like there's going to be one or two people carrying, particularly SmackDown, for the next few months, because it's a real shame. What's happened. But if he's not wrestling Money in the Bank, which looks like it's the case, then at least, I mean, the pay-per-view will still have obviously 2 Money in the Bank matches on there, so it'll be a big show. But yeah, not to have Roman defending the title, even if it was just a throwaway title feud, would have been something. So I think it's very disappointing. And it's SmackDown. We'll get into SmackDown first in a minute, because that's the first show we talk about anyway. But SmackDown for me has been very weak recently, with no Roman presence on it, as well as a few other people.
Well, that was the thing. The draw to SmackDown, and it was so good because you had Roman and the Bloodline on SmackDown week in, week out. And at one point, almost a third of the show was probably the Bloodline. Cutting the promos, then having a match, and they'd probably appear 3 or 4 times over the night. And it was a real draw, wasn't it? But they're really running out of star power. And you mentioned Charlotte Flair being away and the women's title scene. I really think they need to bring Bayley back if she's ready.
Well,
to SmackDown.
She did post a hint yesterday. I think it was on her Instagram or somewhere. Picture of her ring boots.
Okay.
So I reckon she's on her way back soon. It was Money in the Bank last year that she was scheduled to have a match and then got injured in a training accident or whatever it was. So I reckon she could, and yeah, Raw doesn't need her, so she's got to go to SmackDown. So she could really add something.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see. We'll talk about stars going forward, because I think there was a big turn on Raw that might be influenced on this as well. The lack of sort of babyface stars in particular. But yeah, I just think they've made a bit of a mess of this so far. I was against it at the time. The Brock Roman match being for both titles. I think we all were on this podcast. But now it's really looking like a poor decision. I would rather have had 2 title matches at Mania, kept the title on Bobby Lashley or someone like that, and gone from there. But wasn't meant to be, unfortunately.
Interested to see what happens in the future.
Yes. So leading on from that, let's talk about SmackDown, because obviously that was relevant to this. And let's start with the Bloodline as well, because that was the main event of the show. So the Usos are still all over both shows, to be honest. Whilst Roman is, MIA, the Usos are all over both shows, wrestling every week. It feels like they wrestled again on SmackDown and Raw this past week. So SmackDown, they had a championship contenders match, which I hate.
Our favourites, yeah.
And it was Riddle and Nakamura. We mentioned it was probably a weird time as well for them to go to the titles. So that was the main event. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was a good match, actually. The only thing that I suppose was a bit sad in it is the fact that Shinsuke actually got hurt, didn't he?
Well, there's another.
That is.
I've not heard anything about it since, which is weird. But if he is hurt, that's another person missing as well on a very thin SmackDown roster.
And the only reason we know he was injured is because of the X, wasn't it? The referee actually used the X signal, which
they don't do on TV unless it's a real injury. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think they've ever done a sort of a work with that, have they?
I don't remember it ever happening. No, it's normally meant to be not on camera. It's normally one of those things where if someone gets injured, they quickly do the X, and that means someone's hurt.
I think one of the Usos kicked him in the back of the leg, didn't they? And I think it just buckled his knee.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not serious, but we haven't heard anything about that at the moment.
No, I've not heard anything since. But again, that's another person, and the only reason Nakamura and Riddle are teaming together is because both their partners are injured in Orton and Rick Boogs. So it feels like, and in wrestling at the moment, it feels like they're dropping like flies in both AEW and WWE for some reason.
The Usos did carry it off quite well, though, because it must be really difficult in that situation when you think you've hurt somebody to carry on being in character, because I can imagine they just want to see if he's all right. But the way they sort of carried it off in their Uso heelish ways, they did really well, yeah. But
and I liked the fact that kind of Riddle was on top for a bit, 2-on-1, showed some babyface fire.
So good.
And he only really lost the match in the end because of a cool finish, I thought, actually.
Yeah, this was cool.
So Roman's music played, and I thought, okay, he's showing up, is he?
The poor crowd, though. The poor crowd.
The crowd pops, and then
got so excited.
He doesn't come out. That distracts Riddle, and then the Usos sort of turn it around. He was going to do an RKO off the top rope, wasn't he? And then he got pushed, and the Usos did the splash to win. And then it cuts to the backstage, and it's Sami Zayn.
I thought he did do the RKO, but it looked proper ropey.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did.
He fell off, didn't he?
He did do it, but he didn't hit it. He didn't. It
didn't look great.
And then, so it cuts to the back, and Sami Zayn had played the music and then come out to celebrate it. I thought that was cool and fits what Sami's doing. Sami's doing, trying to get in the
good old Sami Zayn,
the Usos good books. And to be honest, he's one of the only good parts about SmackDown at the moment, with Roman missing, Sasha missing. He's one of my favorite things on SmackDown, and this was a cool finish. I thought something a little bit different.
No, definitely. No, I completely agree. But I guess that means there is no championship match.
Well, no, because we got the one on Raw, didn't we?
Yeah. It's crazy how it works out.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the start. Let's talk about the start of the show. The New Day and Drew McIntyre opened the show. Drew did a nice little tribute to Big E. And weirdly, he challenged Roman Reigns to a match at Clash of the Castle, which is
after SummerSlam. Although maybe Roman's deciding he's not going to wrestle until Clash of the Castle. And in that way, he will definitely still have the title.
Well, like I said, the rumored match for SummerSlam is still Reigns and Orton if Orton's around. I think he'll definitely wrestle at SummerSlam. It'd be crazy if he doesn't wrestle at SummerSlam. But yeah, it seemed a bit early to call a shot there, Drew. But I think we're definitely getting that, aren't we? Yeah, I think
they're just trying to drum up attention to get tickets sold.
Yeah, possibly, because we know they haven't sold out yet. So possibly. And then I like the New Day gave Drew a gift, and it was a little kilt thing with Big D written on it.
Yeah, I like Big D.
Drew loved, and that was a cool little moment. And then, of course, we got this feud going on and on and on and on. It's never ending. A 6-man tag again here.
Brawling Brutes.
With the Brawling Brutes. One thing I did like is Butch did hit the bitter end to win. So at least there wasn't a roll up here.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the match was just kind of average, really. Drew got a hot tag. I'm just bored of seeing these guys wrestle every week in some combination.
It's just, as you said, there's just not a big enough roster.
Yeah, they need to move them on. I would rather, honestly, the New Day feud with like Los Lotharios or Jinder Mahal and Shanky at this point, just to move them on to someone else different. And like maybe Sheamus and Co. go and feud with, I don't know, some other babyface team somewhere that they can find. I mean, I don't know. Viking Raiders, screw it. They're on SmackDown. You wouldn't know it because they haven't been there for weeks, but they are.
Last we saw them, they were on NXT.
Yeah, very true. But, something like that, just move them on at this point. I'm getting a bit fed up with it, to be honest. Well, I have been for a while. Then we got a little Max Dupree appearance again, and he has revealed... Sorry, yes, that's how you say it, Dupree. He revealed that he's going to bring his first client to SmackDown this week. Yes. So at least we're getting something moving forward there. Not the same thing every week, but hopefully... I'm not expecting anyone exciting. I think it's just going to be Mace or Mansoor because they've been working with him, in dark matches. I would love it if it's someone better than that. bigger than that, or someone unexpected. But I just got a feeling it's going to be Mace, maybe with a new name.
I'm just hoping that if that's the case, the storyline goes where he just decides he can't make it work and then gets in the ring himself and is awesome, because we know he's great. I just want to see him in ring. I can't see it doing that, but that's what I'd like.
I don't mind if he has like more promos than matches, but he should have occasional matches. But if he can get promos that are really good with a feud with somebody else, because at the moment he's just
talking on his own,
previewing really what is coming up. Well, when he gets into a proper feud, hopefully it'll be good. But God knows, because who knows who he's going to feud with, because there's nobody for him to feud with. It feels like, hopefully something comes of it. Then we got Humberto versus Jinder. I mean, this is how thin the roster is.
In a brilliant roll up.
Yeah, I mean, that's how thin this roster is. It's a 2-hour show and you're doing these matches weekly because you've got nobody else.
Shanky did some more dancing. That's what I took from this.
They're playing up this Jinder Shanky thing, aren't they? The breakup, which I think is coming. And Shanky's going to turn face and be like they love doing this to big heels, don't they? Where they make them into sort of funny, dancey characters. I don't mind with Shanky so much, purely because I wasn't interested in him as a destroyer or a big man in the first place. If they did it to someone like Omos, it'd be different.
Dancing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's okay for what it is. And Samantha this week got up and joined him.
Yes.
Maybe they see something in Shanky. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We got a 6-pack challenge, which I like those matches. Now, this is the kind of contenders match I like, because you're not facing the champion and pinning the champion to win. You're putting all the people that are legitimately in contendership, although really in the women's division it's just everybody, because you've got nobody else. And you put them in a 6-pack challenge, and the winner gets a title match. I like that. That's a good idea. What I wasn't expecting was the person who won this match. Were you?
No. To be honest,
I wasn't based on the build either.
No, it just sort of came out of nowhere, didn't it? I mean, we got a bit at the start as well with Shotzi and Aaliyah, which I was like, I'm not too sure I'm really enjoying this, but at least they're on TV.
Yeah,
is what I brought out of this. I did notice, unfortunately, the crowd was so quiet for this match. I couldn't help compare it to the triple threat match we had at Hell in a Cell. I know this happened before, but we've since watched Hell in a Cell. This match wasn't very fluid, and it was one person in the ring at a time facing another.
Yeah.
When you've got 4 around the outside, it just doesn't look that good. I like the idea. I just didn't think the match was executed very well. It seemed very last minute. And
I don't think it helps where you've got the people involved. I mean, even comparing it, there was a 4-way match on Raw for the women, where it was a number 1 contenders match, basically the same kind of booking, which was way better, because the 4 people the crowd were into, and they were a higher caliber of wrestler really as well overall. Not that everyone in this match was bad, but compared to the Raw match, and like I say, compared to the Hell in a Cell match, it's nowhere near. But yeah, Natalya winning really shocked me.
I think you and Keeney must have got really excited about Shayna getting Raquel in the submission, because I bet you thought that's it. She's going to win.
I thought Raquel was going to win the match before, purely because they'd done the teasers with Ronda before. She'd ran a closer.
I just thought it'd be too soon to do that again.
I know, but WWE loves repeating the same matches. So I thought maybe
this does feel like they don't know what to do. So they've thought, who is our most reliable wrestler that they can put in the ring and make Ronda look good?
Yeah.
Nay, she's going to pull off a good match, isn't she? Or a decent enough match.
And they've had a match before, I'm pretty sure, in the first run. So yeah, I mean, I would have gone with Shayna. I'm hoping that they're going to go with Shayna maybe at SummerSlam or something, but I don't see that happening.
I think Shayna would have been good, but I think also this would have been a great opportunity to give someone like Shotzi a go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
why not? Just have a win. And
they obviously don't know what's going on at the moment. So like you say, there's no build, so why not give somebody else a
what
go?
they may do here is have someone Ronda can beat quite quickly in Natalya at the pay-per-view, and then hopefully that may be where Bayley comes in and attacks Ronda after the match to set up SummerSlam or something like that. That's what I'd like to see. And then you get Ronda and Bayley feud. That would make me interested. Unfortunately, more predictably would be Charlotte returning and then doing Charlotte Ronda again. I could also see them doing that.
God,
I hope not, but you wouldn't rule it out, would you?
A triple threat, maybe. I mean, you could have Charlotte come out and then Bailey being like, "Hell no, you've had your chance."
Yeah, that wouldn't be so bad.
Triple threat would be okay, but I don't want Charlotte.
I just feel like Ronda's going to have a big opponent for SummerSlam. I don't think Charlotte away from titles. Or Shotzi. Yeah, same here for now. Especially.
It'd be cool if they brought a legend back. Could be quite cool.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Not a lot else to say. Though the other thing, obviously, we did have this was before Hell in a Cell, so anything Hell in a Cell related, we had Madcap Moss and Corbin. We've already covered everything that happened between them. Even we said that Madcap looks like a star now. The only other thing to note was Ricochet v Gunter, which was advertised on this show. This is happening this Friday for the Intercontinental title, and that I am looking forward to.
They definitely could have put that at Hell in a Cell. I don't know why they didn't.
No, I would have loved to have seen that in Hell in a Cell. Not in the
but at Hell in a Cell.
At Hell in a Cell. Yeah. God, no, in Hell in a Cell would be a bit much, probably.
It'd be still awesome, though.
It'd be awesome, but it'd been absolutely random with hardly any build to it. But yeah. SmackDown was okay, but I think this week's show will be better with that title match there. You've got Ronda and Natalya.
We talk about lack of stars and things. Hopefully they push. Well, Ricochet, I think, has been doing a good job anyway, but hopefully they push Gunter.
Yeah,
more.
I feel like they are pushing him, but there's only
but needs to
if they put the title on him here, then that'll be a good sign. I think that hopefully then we can get some really serious feuds for Gunter. I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe Gunter versus members of the New Day for the IC title, things like that. I think you could get some really good matches.
Yeah, that could be great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else they've got on SmackDown to. Well, obviously Drew's an obvious one, but I don't think they're going to have Drew lose to Gunter anytime soon.
No.
I would save that match for later down the line. But yeah, there is some good stuff on SmackDown, but it's just not feeling how good it was. And I feel like Raw, I mean, we've said it a few times now, Raw is the better show at the moment. Although it might not be so good. This is a way of transitioning onto Raw. Might not be good now. It's lost one of its top stars in Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. So if you watch Hell in a Cell, you saw the brutal injury that Cody Rhodes has, a torn pec. It looks nasty. I'm pretty certain it's torn off of the shoulder and the bicep, so it's really nasty. His whole left side, right side, is completely purple, isn't it? Go back and have a listen to our Hell in a Cell review if you haven't yet. But we're amazed and in shock how this guy pulled off such an incredible match. So this is actually my top mark that opened Raw. So Cody opens the show with a real heartfelt promo. So humble, you could see he was sort of welling up quite often. This really meant a lot to him, which, to be honest, he's had a whirlwind of a time recently, hasn't he? Coming to WWE, being rocketed to the top, and then getting this horrendous injury that's going to almost take him out for, as Fisher said, we don't know how long yet. He's being operated on, I think, today. He says he's done with Seth. And then Seth actually comes down to the ring and we think, oh, here we go. But then Seth says he's earned his respect, even though he doesn't like Cody. And I bought this hook, line, and sinker. He shook his hand, and I thought, wow, this is cool. I really enjoy this. Even goes as far to say that Dusty's proud of Cody, and Cody looked like he was going to cry, because I mean, this is real, isn't it? It's not. It's a storyline. This is real to Cody Rhodes.
I thought that they would turn the Seth face here because Cody was going. I thought, they're going to turn Seth in his place. They're going to put Seth as the baby face in like going forward,
worked, wouldn't it?
That's what I thought was happening here. And then obviously the old
he walks down the ramp and turns around to sort of say bye, and Seth hits him in the back of the head with the sledgehammer, and
then puts it into him as well.
Beats the hell out of him. Yeah, prolongs the injury even more. A way to write him off TV, isn't it? I think, because he's going to have this operation. I really hope they don't leave him off the whole time, but I guess the shock factor of him coming back potentially at the Royal Rumble or something will be huge if he stays off TV. Real shame, as you say.
It's a massive shame if we don't get to see him at Clash of the Castle, because I was really looking forward to singing along to Kingdom. Like, it's a real bummer.
They're not going to bring him, are they? Just because they're going to want such a shock factor.
Unless what was crazy is he mentioned it, Money in the Bank in his promo. I was like, mate, you are not wrestling at Money in the Bank.
I think that was just trying to get us to then think Seth has damaged him even more.
Yeah, I think that's why they did that as well. Like in kayfabe, maybe he might wrestle, and then Seth's.
I'm actually gutted now. You say we're not going to see him at Clash of the Castle.
I know. I mean, it's possible, but very unlikely. I'd say it's extremely unlikely, actually.
To wrestle,
yeah, I don't think so. Maybe he will come and do a promo. Who knows? Like,
I mean,
just
a good way of keeping stuff building along and keeping him relevant.
Yeah,
and he can talk. The guy can talk. So
I would love it, but it's just a shame. But in terms of this angle, though, like you say, it was brilliantly done. I loved the promo from him and Seth at the start. Really tugs on your emotions and your heartstrings, and then for Seth to do that at the end.
These two are incredible, aren't
they? Yeah, the whole feud's been brilliant, and that's a good way to write it off. And now, if we're not done, I mean, we discussed what could be next on the Hell in a Cell podcast. We both kind of fantasy booked. This was before we saw this on Raw. Maybe Seth winning Money in the Bank, winning the title, and then Cody winning the Rumble. And
I think this solidifies this even more.
And this has made me genuinely think that could happen, because Seth being the one that takes Cody off TV, Seth could easily. I think Seth is one of the favourites for Money in the Bank.
He needs a big win. He has to have a big win.
I think they might thank him by going, do you know what? You've been incredible. You're putting on like the best matches in the whole company. Here you go. You've been taking
with Roman.
You've made Cody an absolute star.
He is carrying. Carrying it.
Especially really as well. Randy Orton was.
Yeah,
you know, we spoke about Orton and Cody being the two most over baby faces, and they're both off at the moment. Really, you have a debate on the face side, which we'll get to later with the edge turn. You've got Riddle, you've got Drew on SmackDown, and beyond that, you're struggling a little bit. To be honest, obviously you've got AJ Styles.
But he's not over at all at the moment.
No, he's obviously going to be still like, he's popular enough. He's AJ Styles, but
he's brilliant.
He's not hot right now, is he? He's not like
he doesn't feel like he's in the days of AJ Styles. The house that AJ Styles built and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's in terms of male baby faces, they're thin on the roster, and I thought Seth might have actually got turned face here. And then him winning Money in the Bank, I reckon he would have got a huge reaction if that happens. But actually keeping him heel, if that's the storyline they're going to go for down the road, also works. I'm just intrigued to see what Seth does next, because he can't feud with Cody. Who does he feud with now?
I think he's just going to go for that Money in the Bank and then just tease everyone.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping.
Because his character works against other heels, doesn't it? Like Roman. It just works.
Him going on both shows, turning up on both shows and stalking Roman and being like, hey, Roman. Like,
it's going to be incredible.
Especially as he beat him at the Royal Rumble technically by DQ, didn't he? So he's technically not lost to him either. No. Still, because the whole promo in their build,
they could really get their teeth into this now, because we wanted more of a story. So
yeah, and this is an opportunity. This is genuinely the opportunity to do it. I think the more I'm thinking about it, the more it makes sense to do it. Either him or KO, I think, is the way forward for Money in the Bank. They're the only two I can think of that I don't want, like a Theory or an Omos or like one of these people that are in the mid card.
We've had that, haven't we?
It doesn't work as much. I'd rather just them go with someone they're going to actually push. Because the problem is, last time they messed up, they did Otis, then they put it on the Miz.
Such an incredible story, because who did Seth cash in on last time?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
The story writes itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's so much there. So it would be a good idea. But anyway, we've kind of gone on a bit of a segue there. But this is really, really good, and just some fantasy booking, which is always fun. Shall we go from a top mark to a skid mark? Because this next, it was literally back to back as well. I was so excited. I really enjoyed that segment, and I was brought down to earth by this next segment. First of all, I didn't mind it, because I saw Becky Lynch was in a match with Dana Brooke. And I was like, okay, that's a bit random. But I'm an advocate for doing these matches where you put a top star against the lower star sometimes. You just have them beat them. You don't have to do the same matches every week and do Belair versus Asuka or Asuka versus Becky. Just those three on rotation. Have them beat different people, and I'd have been fine with that. But then they really made it stupid. And I get that they're trying to continue the Asuka Becky Lynch feud. That was what this is all set up to do. But there is a much, much better way of doing that. The way they could have done it, very simple. Becky Lynch versus Dana Brooke. She beats Dana Brooke in 2 minutes. Asuka comes out after the match, confronts her, whatever, attacks her, whatever. Simple. But no, WWE had to really overcomplicate it. And I wonder what Becky Lynch made of this, because, I mean, I reckon she would have been annoyed.
I wouldn't have minded if she won it. I really wanted Becky Lynch to win that title. If
she'd have won it, it could have been funny. Now, some
just
people
make it relevant. Doesn't even have to be funny. Just then have her kick people's ass for it. You could have her, because she's big time Bex. She could walk around with security guards that stop people getting near her.
All that for the 24/7 title. Like, she's actually big. Like, she's known as big time Bex, and she's pretending like this title was bigger than the actual women's title. You could do something funny with it, like a good storyline with it.
And it keeps her away from the title.
Or she could have just literally won it and binned it, and you could have got rid of the title forever. Like, one of the two. One of the two. But no, they had to really overcomplicate it here. So they had Dana Brooke come down, and she wasn't obviously the 24/7 champion at the start of the match. It's just why I didn't mind her facing her. But then straight away, you see Tozawa come down, and I was like, oh no, where are they going with this? And you see all the 24/7 guys come down. T-Bar was there, Reggie, all the usual boys were there, and girls, Tamina. They get in the ring. Dana quickly rolls Tozawa up and wins the 24/7 title. And I was like, great. Okay, so what's Becky going to do now? And I was not expecting her to say, I'll challenge you for it. And I actually thought that fitted her character in a way, because this is why I've seen some people defending this, because they said Becky is like, she's gone crazy and she's hitting rock bottom. She's desperate for a title. She's desperate for a win. So her going for Dana Brooke, and like you say, she could have made it feel like it's the biggest title in the world, even though we know it's not. She could have done something with that. But then they had to lose to Dana Brooke. Like, that is just unbelievable. Dana Brooke doesn't beat anybody.
I think they are trying to push her down and down and down. This is part of the story, isn't it? To just make her...
And again, I've seen people defend it because they're feeling like Becky's going to go off the rails because she keeps losing. And I get that. But, you know, for me, Asuka Becky Lynch doesn't need her losing to Dana Brooke in the build. Like, it's a bit silly. And it made Becky look stupid. It made Asuka the heel, and she's supposed to be the face. It felt like Asuka was a bit of a knob here. And it doesn't really do much for Dana Brooke because it wasn't a proper win over Becky Lynch. So really it doesn't achieve anything.
No.
That was, so yeah, it's my skid mark. It was my easy skid mark. As soon as I watched it, I was like, that is not getting beaten because it's Becky Lynch involved in it. If they'd have done it with Doudrop or Nikki ASH or a mid-card person, Carmella, someone like that, I probably wouldn't have cared. But the fact that it was Becky Lynch.
The more I think about it, it does seem storyline, doesn't it?
It does.
Push her down. To
it
the
does.
bottom.
And we'll see where it goes. And, you know, in a couple of weeks, we might
be top marking it.
To be fair, it might be one of those things. Next week, it's not going to matter. Becky Lynch is still going to get a good reaction. But
I know where you're coming from.
In isolation, it was a terrible, terrible angle, I thought.
No, completely.
Let's move on to something that was, in my opinion, a lot better. And the big thing to come out of the show, really, which was Edge getting
we're going for
attacked.
The big boy.
Yeah, let's just move on to something
Let's
huge.
go in.
Edge getting attacked by Judgment Day, which I really didn't see coming, and their new member, and it seems to be leader, Finn Balor.
Yeah. So this was announced early in the night, wasn't it? That we were going to get a new member for Judgment Day.
Yeah, which was weird in itself that they arranged. I would have just
surprised
us by Balor coming out, but you know.
So this was a shock for me.
Oh, no one
really.
Was
actually, the Balor joining Judgment Day, I've been saying for weeks.
Yeah, that was that had been built. That part of it had been built.
Yeah, but let's give our opinions on this. I personally think this has come, although it was cool and they attacked Edge and Balor's the leader now. I think this has come way too soon. I was more shocked because of how early this has happened. We've discussed the fact that we've now lost Cody as a face. We've not got Orton. We need another face, so bring Edge back.
So but I think that's what's happened here.
Why turn Edge face when you have Balor, who's already face? Just push Balor as the face. I don't. And AJ Styles.
Honestly, I would have just turned Rollins.
Yeah. Or turn Rollins. But
after
Rollins
that promo, they could have done that promo and turned Rollins. And Rollins would be so over.
He's so gold in his role at the moment.
Yeah, that is true.
He's so good.
I think they felt Judgment Day wasn't 100% working and it needed a shake up.
I think it was, though. I was really enjoying it.
I was, and I know you were, and I think Keeney on here we're very positive about it. But the crowd were chanting "what" when they were talking. I've seen negative reaction to it online, and I've seen divisive opinion. It's not all negative, but I don't think it was working as well as maybe Edge expected. I
think Balor is going to do a brilliant job. I think it's going to be amazing. But
I'm excited for heel Balor.
I wanted this in a couple of months' time.
Yeah,
it would have been more shocking. It feels like it's come around too quickly.
100%, because it made no sense. They literally had one match as a team at Hell in a Cell and won it. So they're not being held back by Edge. If they'd have lost to the to AJ, Liv, and Balor at the weekend, and Edge took the pin or something, and you're like, "Whoa, Edge lost the match."
Yeah,
it would have made a little bit of sense, because then you're like, "Hang on a minute, Edge was the weak link. Like, he actually lost in the match." But the fact that they won the match and Edge got the pin as well, he pinned Balor, and then so Balor is stronger than Edge to them. It made no sense. And
finally,
like I say,
we're getting Balor in a strong position, and hopefully.
What I will say is, going forward, I'm excited for this faction, because I think Balor can really benefit from this.
Yeah.
And like I say, if he is the lead, if he's positioned as a leader here, and I also got a funny feeling we may see the Demon now.
Yeah.
Which Demon Balor versus Edge at SummerSlam would be a money match for me.
Oh yeah, big time.
Especially if it's like Brood style Edge versus.
Would he go Brood style though? You think?
Yeah, it's like. Not heel Brood style, but you know when he faced Rollins and he had Brood, or was it Orton? It was one of those feuds where he was a face, but he had like the half Brood entrance. Yeah, I can see him kind of doing that kind of thing against like a Demon Balor. That would be a good match. If they do that for like SummerSlam or something. But yeah, it's just, I mean, like you say, Edge got his hair cut for this role to fit them.
I know, he's literally just. I like the way it just happened. I mean, they put him through that table. They properly destroyed him.
It was a good beatdown.
Hit him with it was a good angle. So he's probably going to be off TV for a few weeks.
Yeah. So even though they've turned him face, at least if he's on Raw Monday, I'll be very shocked. I reckon it'll be at least 2 weeks.
I think you're looking after Money in the Bank. I think you're right off Money in the Bank, and then you start the build ready for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Balor versus Edge.
Well, you could do at Money in the Bank. You could do Balor versus AJ, because AJ could now obviously. Balor was with AJ and he's turned his back on that. So AJ can come. AJ was on the show this week.
I've just thought of something. Balor versus AJ.
Yeah.
What's the pay-per-view after that? Clash at the Castle. So Balor versus AJ at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Clash at the Castle. You do Edge versus. Is that what I'm saying?
Because it's a big deal for Finn, because it is in.
It is, but I think they'll do it. So I think they might do AJ v Balor at Money in the Bank and do Edge, because SummerSlam is still a huge deal.
Because we've got 2 weeks till Money in the Bank, haven't we?
Yes.
So there's still time to build
2 or 3,
yeah.
There's excitement going forward now. I feel it's exciting, and I really like the Judgment Day faction. But yeah, it came out of the blue, didn't it? Completely. And I think that was the slight negative. If they did this 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line.
Or at SummerSlam even, something like that.
Well, I guess I say we're going to get Balor v Edge. We're going to get Priest v Edge as well, surely, because Priest was the one who put him through the table, hit the chair, I think.
Probably get that on a Raw maybe, or something like that.
There's a few matches you can do out the back of this. I hope AJ gets included. I mean, AJ and Edge teaming would be weird because they had such a big feud at Mania, but AJ should be annoyed with Finn.
That doesn't stop people, does it?
No, it doesn't, to be fair. They could do it, but yeah, that was the big angle, really, wasn't it? From there. We got a video package about John Cena returning to Raw. That's probably some big news as well.
Sorry, I'm actually quite excited for
exactly
this. We know
20 years.
Don't we?
Exactly 20 years from his debut.
That's insane. That's gone quick.
It has, and he's going to be back on Raw for the summer by the looks of it. Maybe a match at Money in the Bank, maybe in a match at SummerSlam. I think we're getting him versus Theory. We talked about it the other day on the Hell in a Cell review.
What date is Money in the Bank?
Money in the Bank, I believe, is the end of June.
Because he's not coming back till the 27th. So
right. I don't think he has a match. I don't think he has a match Money in the Bank then.
Yeah, it's built to SummerSlam. Theory versus. I think he may win that title.
Yeah, you said that the other day. I'm not sure. Interesting. We'll get to it in a minute. But to lead on from that, we got Theory on this show. Have a random interaction with Bobby Lashley. That's an odd one because you think if they're going to do a match, you can't have. Would you have Lashley lose to Theory, or would you have Lashley win the title and then you do Theory and Cena not for the title? It's quite a strange one. That I wasn't expecting it.
I don't know really. I mean, either way would work. Having Theory beat Lashley would elevate him massively, and they're putting a lot behind.
And you wouldn't do it clean. You'd have some sort of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, you say that he seems to be winning his matches clean, doesn't he, Theory?
I know, but he's not beating people like Bobby Lashley. With all due respect.
No, Pat McAfee.
Yeah, and Mustafa Ali, who they're not really pushing. Who's back
Lashley
on
having I suppose it gives Lashley a title, and he's so over at the moment. It's a good idea, maybe.
And they've got no world champion on Raw. That would feel like almost a world level champion on Raw, wouldn't it? And Lashley actually said something the other day about how there should be a world championship on Raw.
Maybe this is how you do it. You have Theory drop the title to Lashley at Money in the Bank. It gives you a big field title match, and then Cena comes out and takes the mick out of Theory.
Yeah, well, I was going to say if it's before, I think that Cena return might be before Money in the Bank. So what you could do is you do Lashley versus Theory at Money in the Bank for the United States title. Cena comes back on the Raw before. Theory interrupts him.
Yeah.
Pisses him off some way. So then you have Cena cost Theory the United States title at Money in the Bank. And that sets up SummerSlam.
That'd be good. And then you don't need the
something
title.
like that. And I don't think you do need the title because I think the problem is if it's the title, I think Cena winning it wouldn't make any sense because he's not going to be. We don't need another title that's absent.
I just want Cena to win it so he can come to Clash at the Castle.
That would be amazing.
I'm just trying to get this the best.
If we got Cena,
ever.
I would be well happy because I've not seen Cena
massively.
live.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Now I've lost my guy Cody.
Hopefully we get Edge because I've not seen Edge either.
That could be sick.
So yeah. I haven't seen Kofi, Cody.
And I guess Edge is going to bring back his Metalingus Ultra Bridge.
I assume so. Yeah, which is only just changed as well.
I see Theory. Probably, actually, yeah. Probably will see Theory. But no, that was it was good, but it definitely has its flaws there.
Yeah. So the thing was weird with Theory and Lashley. They did a little bicep bit, and
my bicep's bigger than yours.
Yeah, and then he took selfies. Lashley kind of just kicked him out of the ring. That was about it. Then we got after the Cena video package, we got Miz TV with Maryse basically promoting Miz and Mrs., which is back, obviously. Their guest was Riddle. They just wanted a way to get Riddle on the show, I think, here. But this segment was actually quite entertaining in the end.
I loved this promo. This was gold, this segment.
So Riddle tried to speak in French to Maryse to begin with. I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but then it turned into a thing about balls for some reason.
I think Riddle said to the Miz that he's just got his wife dragging him round by his balls. And then little balls, and then Maryse said he's got average balls, and then it was giant balls, and then the biggest balls in the world.
Yeah,
I was cracking up at this. The Miz and Riddle, and even Maryse were bouncing off each other.
I loved it. I actually thought Maryse was really good when she said average balls to start with, and then Miz's face. Yeah, I thought this was entertaining, and then they had a little match where Miz got his trousers ripped.
Interestingly, well, the Miz said no to the match at first, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then Ciampa randomly attacks Riddle.
Right, yeah, that was another weird thing.
From out of nowhere. And then
Ciampa just seems to be doing that. And that's why I thought maybe he was drawn in Judgment Day because he was. But I feel like they just don't know what to do with him. So he's just attacking random people. I'm assuming next week we'll probably get Ciampa versus Riddle on Raw.
Yeah. And Ciampa's just going to lose very easily.
Yeah. It's a shame.
It's the start of the downfall, isn't it? I'm quite nervous about Ciampa.
I know. I was listening to him because he was on the bump yesterday. I watched a little clip of him talking about, his main roster call up and that, and he was like, "Oh, I want to do everything. I want to wrestle at WrestleMania. I want to be in the Royal Rumble. I want to be in Survivor Series. I'm like, mate, I was thinking at this rate, none of that's going to happen. I hope he gets
lucky if
he's like, he was like, I'm just patiently waiting my chance, and when it comes, I will take it. Which I believe he's good enough to do that, but I just hope he gets the chance because not everyone does.
I think he needs to be heel to get over on the. He needs to be a heel on the main roster to get over it first.
The thing is, he's not cutting promos at the moment, and I don't think that's helping. He's just randomly attacking people with no reason behind it.
He needs to attack Well, to be honest, I was going to say he needs to attack someone big, but actually Riddle is a great person to attack.
Interestingly, actually, he did. He got angry with the host on the bump because he was saying, "Why? Is it a coincidence that you keep attacking people that are talking to the Miz? Because every time it's happened, Ali was feuding with the Miz, Riddle was having a match with the Miz. So there could be a connection with Ciampa and Miz, which would be a weird connection, but it's better than nothing."
Yeah, it could be quite cool having him as like his hitman almost, just sort of getting him to beat people up.
And he got it felt like he wasn't in character for the whole interview. Some of it he was like, when he was talking about what he wants to do with WWE, that he wasn't in character. But that bit felt like he was being really defensive and in character when he asked him about the Miz. So I've got a feeling that that's maybe the story.
If that's the way they're going, they really could work. And then you could have them feud against each other as well, which could be quite big.
Yeah, down the line, 100%. So yeah, that was all interesting. We got another championship contenders match on this show. We talked about the one on SmackDown. We actually got one on Raw as well with the Usos and the Street Profits. They actually had a really good match. This was a pretty good match
for the millionth time.
Yeah, they faced each other a lot. The tag teams, they face the same tag teams all the time. But it was a really good match. Dawkins did an awesome dive in this match as well. There was a really good
he's really improved.
I think he's great.
Angelo Dawkins.
There was a spine buster and a frog splash where they broke it up right at the last second when the Usos, I thought, were going to win. Broken up right at the last second. There was a cool dive off the steps as well by Montez Ford at one point. So there was a lot of cool spots in this match, but it ended up them winning by count out. Which in this case I don't mind so much purely because I don't like the champions getting pinned. So if you're going to beat them, then I suppose a count out was probably the best way to do it. But so yeah, I think we're going to get Street Profits for Usos for the title by the looks of it, which we've seen before, but will be a good match, I'm sure.
Definitely.
What else did we have on here? We had Veer versus Dominic. That was weird.
Ray saved him. That's
Ray caused the DQ, which was kind of lame. I would have just had Dominic quickly tap and then Ray maybe save him from getting beaten down afterwards. But the DQ bit was unnecessary, I thought. That was all right. Not really a lot else to say about that. We also had Omos versus Cedric Alexander, which was literally one move. I felt a bit sorry for Cedric getting completely buried here, but he's not really anything anymore on Raw. But a notable thing really from this was the return of the Dirty Dogs, Ziggler and Rude.
Yeah, that was so random.
Yeah, and it feels like they're baby faces because they were sort of feuding with MVP and Omos here.
I think that's a good idea. They've been heel for so long.
Yeah.
Ziggler especially.
Ziggler, God, he's been a heel for like 5 years at this point. So I don't mind them freshening the character up. But yeah, it's a bit random. It feels like they're just there to put over Omos because Omos will probably beat them in seconds, unfortunately. I hope not, because I would much rather Dolph Ziggler or Robert Roode get pushed than Omos, but can't see that happening somehow. Maybe they'll win a tag match if MVP's involved or something. But yeah, other than that, I think
yeah, they're going to get destroyed, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's nice to see them back. I like seeing them on my screen, even though this was very short and a bit random. We had Otis v Ezekiel. That was okay. It's just a roll up.
Well, this was just adding to the angle, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I liked the promo after.
Yeah,
the match was a waste of time, but I loved KO saying, because Ezekiel basically calls out Owens and asks for a rematch. Owens says, "I'll give you a rematch on one condition: you admit you're Elias." And he goes, "Okay, I admit it." And he was like, "I want you to say it." And he goes, "I am Elias." So he actually said them words, but then he was like, "God, that was so easy. I did what Kevin Owens did. I lied." And then, so he's got the rematch, but obviously he lied to get the rematch.
Zeke.
I like Ezekiel, but yeah, I want Kevin Owens to beat him again. Personally, I just want that to. I don't know how long this shelf life this has got.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Ezekiel can't. Once the Owens feud over, is he just going to keep doing the same thing, like telling other people is someone else going to accuse him, and it's going to be repeat the same storyline, or you know what I mean? I don't really know how much shelf life it's got. I feel like Owens has to get it out of him eventually. And
even if Zeke wins, I mean, what's achieved by that?
Yeah, not really anything. But yeah, so it's a bit random, this feud, really. And then we got the main event, which was pretty good. I thought 4-way #1 contenders match. Again, I like doing this kind of thing. A proper.
This one was more like it. This was far better than the one on SmackDown.
This was a lot better. Yeah, I agree with you. I had Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, and Doudrop. For a start, I think the standard is higher here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%.
4 people as well is probably easier to
manage
do than 6. And I think we also got the right winner in this one with Rhea winning, and then Judgment Day staring down with Bianca at the end.
I like the way she kept staring at Bianca when she was doing moves and things like that. Yeah, I think Rhea's new look, as much as it's only changed slightly, just looks awesome.
She looks awesome, yeah. What I did notice a lot in this match is there's a lot of interaction between Liv and Alexa teaming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there could be something there. They're 2 people we haven't seen a lot together, feuding or teaming.
They'd be really good as a tag team if they decide to keep the titles.
Teaming up, even if there's not any titles around for the time being, have them in a feud with Doudrop and Nikki ASH or something, maybe, and do a tag feud, even if it's not for titles. I think could work. I think Liv and Alexa would be.
Yeah, they'd be brilliant, and I think they'd be very, very popular as well.
I think that'd be a good team to do. Yeah, and then eventually you could have one turn on the other, probably Alexa turn, and bring back a sort of more vicious side of her. Yeah, I think that could be interesting. But I noticed that a lot in this match, that they had good interactions. And Rhea, yeah, I like the stare down at the end. And what's interesting about the Rhea winning as well is, so Priest and Balor come down at the end as well, didn't they? To stare off. And I was just thinking, well, you could get a 6-person tag here as well with the Street Profits and Bianca Belair versus Priest, Balor.
Yeah, that could be pretty awesome.
Rhea.
This is going to be a banger of a match.
Yeah, Rhea was my pick already before Judgment Day to be the next Raw Women's Champion. And I think now she's in Judgment Day, it makes sense. I don't know whether the next match should be. I feel like it's maybe a bit too soon to take the title off Belair.
I don't think they'll win here. I think it'll be SummerSlam will be where they'll look to change it.
Yeah, maybe they'll change it at SummerSlam, possibly. And that's about it from Raw. Shall we move on to NXT 2.0?
I think we should.
Yeah, I thought NXT this week was a better show than. I mean, last week we were calling it everyone's favorite show because I was kind of mocking it, and people mock it, but I don't mind it overall. And I thought this week was pretty solid. And there was one thing, and I'm going to give it my top mark that really stood out. So my top mark of the week is the return of Apollo.
This was unexpected.
And what I loved about it is I like people coming down to NXT anyway. Remember Keeney giving Natalia a top mark, which I never thought I'd see. We've talked about Dolph Ziggler before with the Bron Breakker stuff and Ciampa. I loved that stuff. In particular, AJ Styles came down to NXT. Viking Raiders have done stuff. But almost coming down here, refreshed. And what I like, the reason why I'm giving it my top mark is the gimmick was different. If he'd have come down with Commander Aziz speaking in a fake Nigerian accent and as a heel, I would have still been cool to see him, but I wouldn't have been as impressed. But he came out here and he was just Apollo Crews, the old Apollo Crews from NXT 6 years ago or whenever he was last in it. And yeah, he was awesome. He cut a really nice promo. The crowd were really hot for him, and that's what we've noticed with all of them coming down to NXT. So the crowd goes nuts for Ziggler, for Natalia. Yeah, and it was really cool here. He had a confrontation with Braun, teasing a match with him, and then he later teamed up in the main event to help Solo Sikoa against Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes, and he had a really good match and won it with his move as well. And I thought, oh, is this like like we've seen with them, where they come down for a match? But apparently he's been moved over to the NXT roster permanently, which
that's really cool. I think he needs that. I was a bit worried about him when he sort of disappeared.
He was in the 24/7 segment a week or two ago or more, and I was like, oh god,
I think it's really important. Segueing slightly, but I know Mandy Rose has had a lot of positive feedback on how she helps backstage with the newer stars in NXT 2.0, and I think having someone like Apollo, who's been there, is a fantastic wrestler and has done the main roster, has been in big pay-per-views, really helps the idea of NXT being the training ground for the next stars, and having someone there who can really be the sort of backbone of it. Really will help, and also it helps their career because they're actually going to be wrestling, which is what they want to do on TV.
And I feel like as well with him, he's got stuff left in the tank in NXT. It's not like, I don't know who to use as an example because most NXT champions are in AEW right now, but an old NXT like champion, say if Ciampa in a year's time, his running on the main roster goes bad and he comes back down to NXT. You think, well, he's done everything he can achieve in NXT. Yeah. Whereas with Apollo, he actually didn't do much in NXT originally. He's actually been more on the main roster. He's probably done more than he did in NXT. A lot like Mandy Rose as well. So Mandy Rose was in NXT, but then came up to the main roster for years. Did okay, but then kind of fizzled out a little bit. Came back down to NXT, changed her act, and now she's the champion and been dominant. And I feel like Apollo can do a similar path. And he hasn't won the NXT championship. He's not won the North American championship. So he's got stuff in there that he can do that's new. And he's got obviously different guys to feud with because he's not wrestled anyone down there before. So I feel like it's a really fresh approach for him. The match itself was good. Solo Sikoa is so popular, man.
Yeah, he's big time, isn't he?
Yeah, him versus Carmelo is going to be a banger of a match as well.
I don't know what's going to happen there. Really don't.
No, because they've only just put the title back on Carmelo. Yeah. So do you have him drop it again already to Solo? And if Solo loses, then what do you do with him? I mean, you could just shoot him into the main roster,
bring him up to the main roster,
and
no
one
maybe.
You could honestly just do that. Even though it's been quite quick, that the fact he's in the bloodline can mean you can do that with him.
Be quite a cool little story as well if Roman comes back with him.
And he could go for the IC title. Do you know what I mean? Because it'd be the only one without a belt. But yeah, it's interesting. I really like Apollo being back down there, and I like this feud with. I like him teaming with Solo, and I feel like you could have one of them turn on each other eventually as well. You do Solo versus Apollo. You've got Apollo versus Carmelo, Apollo versus Bron Breakker if he goes for the big title. So much you can do down there.
Definitely. No, I'm looking forward to that. No, great top mark.
Yeah, really interesting. Let's get to.
Should we go on to the Dusty Rhodes final?
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't Dusty Rhodes. It's still Women's Breakout. Similar. Feels similar. Dusty Rhodes is a tag team tournament, but yeah.
But yeah, Tiffany Stratton versus Roxanne Perez.
Yep.
Two very impressive wrestlers here. Really, really good match, I thought here, and I think the right person won as well in Roxy Perez.
Yeah,
just because
I've been saying
Tiffany
she
Stratton
to start
because she wasn't in it at the start, was she?
No, it would have been silly really if Tiffany won. I don't think she needs it. I think Roxanne winning it. I think she is the future star of this division. I think it's quite clear already.
Yeah.
Whether she wins the title from
The
this, I
fact
don't
they've
know.
twinned her with Cora Jade as well shows that they want to push her.
Yeah,
it?
The thing is, I can see them going down the tag team route a bit more than going maybe down the singles route.
Probably a good idea. I think they'll be really popular and really over.
You know, if she I can see her losing to Mandy, and then
the style they have. This is a bit
Cora
random.
kind of saving her and going for the tag titles.
That's a great idea. Yeah, in fact, the way it ended with Cora coming out when Toxic Attraction came out and sort of saving her. No, that's a brilliant pitch. I almost see these. It's quite. I might get slaughtered for this, but it's like the female version. The way they're making them dress and act. It's like a female version of the Hardy Boys in the early days. Just the style, I think, that they look. The skater style, sort of
I get what you're saying,
new metal rock look. It's popular. It's a working recipe, isn't it? So I think you're right in terms of the tag team. I think it really could get over.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit of a waste in that because the tag team division was not great in NXT, but the women's one. But you know, it could be something until one of them wins the main title. Because I mean, Roxy could beat Mandy. It could happen, but I don't.
He's a very good wrestler.
I think it might be a bit early because then once she loses the title, then what do you do with her? I think it might be a bit early. I would rather, we'll transition onto this in a minute, but someone else beat Mandy Rose, and that person is Alba Fire. She is awesome.
She is great.
Is so bloody awesome.
I think that's the way to go.
And she is a great wrestler who can have. The thing is, champions should have good matches, right? And I know Roxy can have good matches, Mandy can have good matches, but I think Kaylee Ray or Alba Fire can have amazing matches.
Yeah, definitely.
and that
We've
I think
seen it,
in a developmental division with someone like her there, you could easily put the belt on her. And it would really, really help. She had another good match here, quick one against Tatum Paxley, but yeah, she just looked cool when she got another win, and she's racking them up with this new gimmick. She got attacked by Lash Legend afterwards, who I think is another person she's probably going to beat. I hope. Oh God, I hope she doesn't lose her. Lash could really learn from her. I feel like they've put her because Lash is quite green in the ring. So if you put her with Alba Fire, hopefully Alba Fire can get a good match out of her. Because the ones we saw with Natalya weren't too bad.
No. Yeah, when she had some of the experience. So I think I agree with you. Yeah, I think Kaylee Ray is going to really help there. And also, it's a stepping stone on her way up to that title, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
And you had a lot of storyline before with Mandy Rose and Kaylee Ray. So it could be quite interesting when we eventually get there.
Indeed, yeah. We had Josh Briggs versus Von Wagner. Bit of a surprise here with Josh Briggs actually winning.
Yeah, this was odd, wasn't it?
Wasn't expecting him to win this match, but he did.
Yeah, he hit him with Jensen's cast.
Yeah, so he's now back from injury. So that was, I mean, we've seen this kind of angle before. Hit him with a cast, got the revenge, and beat him. It was okay. Not a lot else to say.
No, it's not a storyline I'm that interested in. But one I am interested in is the Santos Escobar and Tony D saga. So we had Santos Escobar versus Nathan Frazier with Tony D basically telling Escobar he had to get in the ring. He's got a match. Get your gear on. This match was awesome, I thought. Whenever Nathan Frazier's in the ring, he's just so fast, isn't he? He just makes things look cool. But I almost thought it rubbed off on Escobar a little bit. Like a dive to the outside was incredible.
Escobar's an incredible wrestler. Like
he's a good wrestler.
He should be the next big Mexican kind of star to take over from Rey Mysterio. Like he's that good.
He should definitely be called
Andrade could have been that. I said it a couple of weeks ago. Andrade could have been that, but Andrade's maybe, he's not great at speaking English.
He lacked in the promos, didn't he?
Yeah, whereas Santos has got all of it, man. He's got everything. So I think
looks so cool.
Yeah, hopefully they see it and push him. But yeah, he lost here though, Santos, but it was always going to be. It was because
I think that's the build, isn't it, between in the Tony D saga, as I like to call it.
Yeah, and he was kind of telling it because he was doing, when he did that dive to the outside, Tony D was like, take that out of your repertoire. Like,
that was awesome.
So maybe we're going to see Santos kind of wrestle differently as well because he's not going to want to wrestle like a cruiserweight style, lucha libre style, whilst he's with Tony D. And then obviously, eventually, when he's had enough and he breaks out of that, I'm sure he will. But yeah, I like this feud. I've liked this feud. They're really good. Two really good factions. Tony D and Santos Escobar leading them. Brilliant. Nathan Fraser was a great opponent for him. All good stuff. This. I was going to say top marks, but it's not a top mark. I won't go that far. What else was there then? There was, a very rambly promo from Joe Gacy. His two hooded druid men are making their debut next week in ring, which is interesting. So I'm guessing we're going to find out who they actually are underneath that.
Any ideas?
I haven't got a clue. We haven't seen Grizzled Young Veterans for a while, but it doesn't look like them. I think
that would be awesome.
I think it's two new guys though. I've got a feeling it's guys we haven't seen. Talking of guys we haven't seen, well, someone we have seen, but if you package, we finally found out who. What's the guy's name? Oh, I've forgotten his name now. The Italian.
Oh yes,
Giovanni Vinci. That's it. It's finally revealed. It is Fabian Eichner. So he's there now.
Glad he's still around.
Yeah, so it's just him in a new gimmick. He looked pretty cool here in the reveal. He's an awesome wrestler. So if they can get him having a solo run, I'm disappointed he wasn't called up with Gunther. But to be fair, if he was just going to be standing there and Gunther was going to do all the wrestling and he can have a solo good run in NXT, it might work out better. Who knows?
Definitely.
So that was interesting. What else did we get? We got wasn't a lot else actually. I'm just looking through my notes for NXT. We had that main event. We had the Andre Chase taking on Pretty Deadly 2-on-1 basically because Bodie Haywood couldn't compete. Their new recruit Fear Hell wanted to tag in, and they ended up losing the match. And honestly, that was about it from NXT. Not a lot else to it. But it was a better show than it has been in recent weeks.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think the Apollo thing really helped, actually. And Bron Baker not feuding with Joe Gacy helped. Oh, my God.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that was doing my head in that feud.
Yeah, I'm glad that's over now.
Definitely. Well, I think that's it for this week. Obviously, fairly short show because we've got no AEW to talk about. Like I said, I will be talking all things AEW from Rampage and Dynamite last week. I will do a separate recording. Put that up on our YouTube channel. If you listen on our podcast, we won't have that on a podcast format. It will just be on our YouTube channel probably. But like and subscribe there. Follow us on Twitter to find out when everything will be up because we'll tweet about it. We tweet about other stuff as well at Recharge Wrestle. On our YouTube channel, Keeney's My GM mode, it's still going. He's 30 odd weeks in. He
might not be here, but his GM mode is still here. His presence
is still on the channel. His presence is he's actually on the channel more than we are, technically.
Yeah.
Because his videos are there every day. One episode uploaded a day. Keep up with them. They're only 10 minutes long each time. So if you've got a spare 10 minutes every day, check them out. They're really they're good videos to watch. And especially if you're into gaming in general, but especially if you're into 2K22. I've started playing my own version of it myself. I'm not recording it at the moment, but we will do some more recordings, maybe head-to-heads in the future, which will be really exciting. So yeah, keep watching that. Keep plugged in to the world of professional wrestling for our various mediums of entertainment, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Goodbye.